The afternoon sun burned over Scottsdale, Arizona. Outside a luxury car dealership, rows of shiny sports cars and sleek black SUVs glistened in the heat. It was the kind of place where every detail screamed wealth. Into that world stepped a man in a gray hoodie, worn jeans and sneakers. He didn't look like the kind of customer anyone here expected. As he pushed open the glass door, cool air and the smell of polished leather washed over him. Conversation stopped. Employees at the front desk glanced at him, quick looks exchanged between them. Their smiles faded into tight lines. He noticed, but he stayed calm. From across the floor, a manager walked toward him. Her steps were sharp, her eyes scanning him head to toe. Her smile was polite, but her tone held something else. "Can I help you?" she asked. "Just here to look around," he answered casually. The way she looked at his sneakers said more than her words. And in that moment, one question hung in the air. What happens when you misjudge the wrong person? He moved slowly through the showroom, admiring the silver coupe that caught his eye. But the manager, clipboard in hand, hovered like a guard. Her words carried doubt. "These cars start in the six-figure range. Maybe I can recommend something more suitable." Her tone was clipped, her eyes narrowing as if she already knew his limits. He smiled faintly, still calm, still polite. "You're assuming I'm not qualified," he said. Her answer was smooth, but her meaning was clear. "I'm trying to save you time." She handed him a paper filled with used sedans and budget hybrids, cars far below the standard of the luxury showroom around them. He folded the list neatly and slipped it into his pocket. "Appreciate the effort," he said lightly. His voice gave nothing away, but inside, her assumptions left their mark. Minutes passed. The staff whispered in corners. The man kept his composure, his hands in his pockets, watching. Then he asked the one question that shifted the air. "Could I speak to the owner?" The manager froze, then laughed softly, shaking her head. "The owner doesn't have time for casual visits. You'll need an appointment." "Then maybe you could give them a call," he said, his tone calm but firm. Her smile thinned. "Sir, I think it's best if you leave." The words dropped heavy. But instead of arguing, he reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. In full view of the room, he made a call. "Yeah, it's me. I'm here at the dealership. Could you let them know I'm waiting? Thanks." He slipped the phone away and looked at her calmly. "They'll be here shortly." The room fell into silence. Employees stopped working. The tension grew thick. Minutes later, the front doors opened. A sharply dressed man in a navy suit walked in, his polished shoes echoing. He spotted the man in the hoodie instantly. "Mr. Carter," he said warmly, shaking his hand. "So good to see you." The staff froze. The manager's clipboard nearly dropped from her hands. Her face turned pale. The suited man turned to her, his tone firm. "Everyone, meet Mr. Carter. As of last month, he is the new owner of Prestige Motors." Gasps filled the showroom. The truth hit like thunder. Soon the employees gathered in the conference room. The man stood at the head of the table, calm and steady. "I came in dressed like this for a reason," he began. "I wanted to see how this place treats people when they don't look like they belong." He let the words settle. "What I saw today was disappointing. I wasn't treated with respect. And if it can happen to me, it can happen to any customer who doesn't fit your picture of a buyer." The room was silent. The staff shifted in their chairs. The manager sat stiff, her face flushed. "This isn't just about selling cars," he continued. "It's about building trust, respecting every person who walks in. From now on, that's the standard here. No assumptions, no judgments. Only respect." One by one, heads nodded. Even the manager finally raised her voice, low and unsteady. "I made a mistake," she admitted. "I misjudged you, and I'm sorry." He looked at her, his tone firm but kind. "Thank you for saying that. But this is bigger than me. It's about changing the culture here." He ended the meeting with steady resolve. "We're not just selling luxury cars. We're building relationships. If you're on board, I'll support you. If not, this may not be the place for you." The staff left with new purpose. The manager lingered at the door, whispering, "Thank you for giving me a chance to do better." He nodded, his voice steady. Actions speak louder than words. As he stepped back into the showroom, the cars gleamed under the lights. For the first time that day, he felt hope. He hadn't just revealed himself as the owner. He had set the tone for a new beginning, because in the end, this story wasn't about cars at all. It was about dignity, and what happens when judgment is replaced by respect. The man walked further into the showroom, his eyes moving across the polished lineup of luxury vehicles. The glass walls reflected his casual outfit, a stark contrast to the sleek suits and designer shoes that usually filled this space. He paused beside a silver coupe, its sharp lines catching the light. But before he could even admire it properly, the manager's voice cut through the quiet. "These cars start at 6 figures," she said smoothly, though her tone carried a sharp edge. "Most customers here pre-qualify before browsing. Maybe I can recommend something more practical for you." The words were coded in politeness, but the meaning stung. She didn't see him as a serious buyer. She didn't even try to hide it. He stayed calm, his expression neutral. "You're assuming I'm not qualified," he replied softly. Her smile tightened. "I'm just saving you time," she said, her eyes flicking down to his sneakers again. She scribbled something quickly on her clipboard before stepping away. He could feel the eyes of the other staff following him, small glances that carried silent judgment. One whispered something to another and they chuckled under their breath. He ignored it. Moments later, the manager returned with a sheet of paper. She handed it to him, her voice carrying a false brightness. "Here are a few options. Reliable, affordable, perfect for your situation." He looked at the list. An older SUV, a used sedan, and a compact hybrid, each one priced well below the showroom's usual inventory. It was insulting, though she framed it as kindness. He folded the list carefully and slipped it into his pocket. His voice stayed even. "I appreciate the effort." For a second, her confidence wavered. She expected him to argue, to protest, maybe even to storm out. Instead, he remained collected. That unsettled her more than anger would have. "Look," she said, lowering her voice as if sharing a secret. "I've been in this business a long time. I can usually tell when someone is out of their depth. I don't want you to waste your time here." He tilted his head, meeting her eyes. His tone was calm, almost thoughtful. "Out of my depth, huh? Interesting." The silence that followed was heavy. The nearby employees pretended to work, but their ears were tuned to every word. The tension was thick enough to feel. Finally, he spoke again, his voice steady but with an edge that could not be ignored. "How about this? You let me speak with the owner. Think you can make that happen?" The question seemed to shake her. For the first time, her professional mask cracked. She forced a laugh, shaking her head. "The owner doesn't take casual walk-ins. They're very busy people." "Then maybe," he said quietly, "you could give them a call." Her politeness vanished. The irritation she had been holding back slipped through her words. "Sir, I think it's best if you leave." The room froze. Employees turned their heads, pretending not to watch, but failing miserably. He stood still, calm as ever, his hands in his pockets. Then slowly he reached for his phone. "All right," he said, scrolling casually. "I'll make the call myself." The faint sound of his voice speaking into the phone echoed in the showroom. The staff exchanged confused glances. The manager's eyes narrowed, suspicion and unease flashing across her face. "Yeah, it's me," he said into the phone. "I'm here at the dealership. Could you let them know I'm waiting? Thanks." He ended the call and slipped the phone back into his pocket, then looked straight at the manager. His expression was calm, almost casual. "They'll be here shortly." Her mouth opened, then closed again. She had no words. The entire room seemed to be holding its breath. Silence settled over the showroom like a heavy blanket. The man stood beside a luxury SUV and read the spec card as if he had all the time in the world. He did not touch the paint. He did not lean on the door. He gave no reason for anyone to point a finger. He waited. The manager pretended to be busy. She flipped her clipboard. She typed on the computer with fast, stiff hands. Every few seconds, her eyes cut back to him. The staff kept talking in low voices near the front desk. Their laughter from earlier was gone. In its place was a nervous hum that vibrated through the glass. A junior associate approached with a bottle of water. He spoke softly. "Would you like this while you wait?" The man took it with a small smile. "Thank you. What do you think of that silver coupe by the window?" The associate brightened. He loved cars, it showed. It's quick off the line. Great balance. The cabin is quiet even at speed. Most people notice the sound system first, but the steering is what makes it special. The man nodded, listening. He glanced toward the manager. She was already walking over, heels clicking, smile tight. "Back to your desk," she told the associate. Not unkind, but not warm either. "I'll handle this." The associate stepped away. The man watched him go and then returned his calm gaze to the manager. "If you are serious," she said, We can start with a credit application. Otherwise, I will need to free up the floor for clients who have appointments. He looked down at the water bottle. He took a slow sip. I asked to speak with the owner, he said. I made the call. They are on the way. Her jaw tightened. For a second, frustration showed like a crack in glass. Please understand, she said, this is a high-end operation. We manage expectations from the start. He did not argue. He did not raise his voice. He simply let the words pass and fall to the floor where they belonged. He moved toward the silver coupe. He read the trim code. He read the warranty notes. He noticed a tiny swirl mark near the door handle that most people would miss. His phone buzzed once. A simple message on my way. He turned the screen face down and slipped it back into his pocket. He kept waiting. A couple walked in wearing tailored clothes and confident smiles. The manager's entire energy changed. She glided toward them, voice warm, hands open. Welcome to Prestige Motors. What brings you in today? She spoke about luxury packages and delivery timelines. She laughed. She offered the couple espresso. The man in the hoodie noticed the speed of her kindness. He noticed how easily it flowed when she believed someone fit the part. The couple glanced his way with polite curiosity. He gave them a small nod. He had no need to interrupt. He had no need to compete. He knew who he was. The junior associate slipped back to the man's side, cautious now. Would you like me to pull up the build sheet on that coupe? That would be helpful, the man said. They looked at the numbers together on a tablet. The associate pointed out tire options and a driver assist package that was worth the price. He did it with respect. He did it without guessing wallets or worth. The man made a mental note. Some people in this room understood what service should feel like. The manager noticed them again and returned, the smile gone. I will take it from here, she said to the associate. Then to the man, as I said, we prioritize pre-qualified clients. Please wait by the entrance. He did not move. I am exactly where I need to be. She opened her mouth to answer, but the main doors hissed. The room straightened as if a string had pulled every spine tall. Polished shoes tapped against tile. The air shifted. Conversations cut off in the middle of words. The man in the hoodie did not look surprised. He simply turned and faced the sound of those steps. His shoulders were loose. His chin was level. He had been in rooms like this before. He remembered a younger version of himself washing cars behind a small lot and dreaming of a day when respect would not depend on a suit. He remembered people who had spoken to him like he was invisible, and the few who had looked him in the eyes. He carried all of that with him now, calm, grounded, unmoved. Their doors closed softly behind the newcomer, a navy suit. A steady smile. Eyes that searched the room and landed on the man waiting by the silver coupe. The staff held their breath. The manager clutched her clipboard. The junior associate took a half step back, then stayed where he was. The man in the hoodie didn't blink. The footsteps came closer. The navy suit paused just inside the glass doors. The room straightened. Keys stopped jingling. A printer whirred and then went quiet. The manager's grip on her clipboard tightened until her knuckles showed white. The man in the hoodie didn't move. He stood beside the silver coupe like it belonged to him already, calm and steady, as if he had chosen that exact square of floor on purpose. The newcomer walked in with an easy pace. Not rushed, not slow. His eyes scanned the room, taking in the staff, the cars, the man by the window. He offered a polite nod to the front desk and stopped a few feet from the manager. Good afternoon, he said. I'm here to address a situation. The manager gave a quick smile that did not reach her eyes. There's no situation, she replied. Just a customer who doesn't have an appointment. We were managing expectations. He turned slightly, noting the distance between the man and the car, the space he kept, the careful respect for the showroom rules. I see, he said. May I ask how long he's been waiting? Not long, she said. I've already provided a list of practical options. We prioritize pre-qualified buyers for the main floor. He held her gaze for a beat and then looked past her to the junior associate standing near the desk. Is that correct? The associate swallowed. He asked about the coupe. I showed him the build sheet. He never touched the car. The manager cut in quickly. We have policies. This is a luxury environment. We must protect the inventory and the customer experience. The man in the hoodie took a sip of water and set the bottle down on a brochure stand. I asked to speak to the owner, he said evenly. I made a call. You were told someone would come. The newcomer nodded once. I received that call. A whisper rippled across the staff like a breeze. The air conditioning hummed louder than usual. Outside, the sun flared against the glass, turning the showroom into a bright stage. Inside, every small sound felt magnified. A pen clicked. A shoe heel tapped. A throat cleared and then went still. "Sir," the manager said to the newcomer, "if you'd like, I can escort him out and we can take this offline." "I don't want a scene." The newcomer's expression didn't change. "There won't be a scene," he said gently. "But we will have clarity." He turned to the man in the hoodie. "Were you denied service?" The man's voice was calm. "I was offered a list of cars from another price range and asked to leave." "Because?" "Because I did not match a picture someone had in mind." Silence landed hard. The junior associate shifted, then looked down at his shoes. A receptionist smoothed a stack of papers that didn't need smoothing. The newcomer looked back at the manager. "Is that accurate?" She hesitated, then lifted her chin. "I used my experience. We filter interest." "It's efficient." "Efficient for who?" the man asked, still quiet, not taking his eyes off the coupe. "For the person who walks in or for the person who judges them?" The manager bristled. "I didn't judge. I protected the brand." "The brand," the newcomer repeated almost to himself. He let the words sit there between them and then stepped slightly to the side, allowing his line of sight to include both the manager and the man in the hoodie at once. "Here's what we'll do," he said. "We'll move to the conference room for a short conversation. Then we will return to the floor with a clear understanding of how we treat people here." The manager's smile returned, quick and thin. "Of course," she said. "I'll lead the way." The newcomer shook his head. "Not yet." He addressed the staff without raising his voice. "Everyone, please pause what you're doing for a moment." Chairs squeaked. A phone stopped ringing mid-beep. Even the espresso machine seemed to wait. "We are measured by our cars," he said, "but we are defined by our choices. Today is one of those choices." He looked at the junior associate. "You offered help." "Thank you." The associate's shoulders lowered a notch. He faced the manager again. "You referenced policy. Policy is a floor, not a ceiling. We don't hide behind it." She shifted the clipboard to her other hand. "I understand." The man in the hoodie remained still, hands loosely at his sides. He looked like a person who had put out a fire without moving a muscle. He didn't gloat. He didn't push. He let the room wrestle with itself. A couple at the door hesitated, sensing the weight of the moment. The receptionist greeted them softly and asked them to wait. They nodded and sat, eyes flicking between the cars and the quiet confrontation in front of them. "Sir," the manager tried again, "if this is about escalation, I can handle it. We can reschedule for another day." The newcomer's answer was almost kind. "Today is the day." He took a final look around the floor. The shining hoods, the bright glass, the badges that glowed like medals. Then he turned to the man in the hoodie with a calm that steadied the space. "If you're ready," he said, "we'll proceed." The man nodded once. The manager exhaled, expecting control to swing back to her as usual. She took a step toward the corridor that led to the conference room, heels clicking with rehearsed authority. But the newcomer didn't follow immediately. He paused. He faced the staff one more time. "You're about to learn something important about this place," he said, "and about who we are when no one is watching." Every eye in the room lifted. Every hand went still. The moment held like a drawn breath. Then the newcomer gestured toward the corridor. "After you," he said to the man in the hoodie. The manager blinked, thrown by the order. She opened her mouth to speak and found no words. They walked toward the glass-walled conference room in that exact line. The man in the hoodie, then the newcomer, then the manager behind them, catching up to a reality she did not yet understand. At the door, the newcomer reached past the manager and pushed it open. The lights hummed on. Chairs circled a polished table. A city of chrome and leather reflected in the glass. "Please," he said, holding the door. The man stepped in. The staff leaned from their desks just enough to see. What happened next would change the room. The glass door whispered shut behind them. The conference room was bright and quiet. A long table polished like a mirror. Chairs lined up as if waiting for a verdict. The newcomer set his phone on the table face down and folded his hands. The manager stood near the wall, still clutching her clipboard. The man in the hoodie stayed standing, calm and steady. "Thank you for waiting," the newcomer said. His voice carried easily in the room. Before we continue, I want one thing clear. He turned to the manager first. I'm from the regional office, he said, and he is the owner of this dealership. The words landed like a bell. Clear. Final. The manager blinked as if the air had changed pressure. Her fingers loosened on the clipboard. Paper slid, caught by the clip at the last second. The owner, she repeated. The shape of the word felt heavy now. Since when? As of last month, the newcomer answered. The paperwork is complete. The transition is in progress. He asked me to meet him here today. The man in the hoodie did not smile. He did not gloat. He nodded once to the newcomer and then looked back at the manager. I asked to be treated like anyone who walks in off the street, he said. I wanted to see what that feels like. A beat of silence stretched. The manager swallowed. Her eyes flicked back to the memory of the showroom floor, the list she printed, the way she had said the word practical, the way she had said out of your depth. The newcomer shifted a chair back with a soft scrape. Please sit, he said. He gestured to the manager too. You as well. They all took seats. The room hummed with the faint sound of the building's air system. Outside the glass wall, a line of taillights crawled along the boulevard. Inside, the weight of the moment settled. The newcomer spoke first. We can clean this up with policy words, he said. Or we can deal with what happened. You made a call based on a picture in your head. That picture was wrong. The manager opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again. I was protecting the brand, she said softly. I thought I was being efficient. Efficient at what? The owner asked gently. If not turning people away? She looked down at the clipboard. The metal edge glinted. I judged, she said. The truth came out small, but it came out. The owner leaned forward, forearms on the table. His voice was level. I grew up detailing cars behind a small lot, he said. I saved, learned, and kept going. I bought this place because I believe service can be better than what I experienced back then. I wore a hoodie today to test the floor, not to trick anyone, to see the truth. He let that sit, then continued. The truth is not pretty, but it is useful. The manager nodded, eyes wet but steady, the posture of someone who has run out of places to hide. I understand, she said. I misread, I misled. I'm sorry. The newcomer watched her expression. You are experienced, he said. You know inventory. You know the numbers. But culture is more than numbers. Our reputation does not live in chrome. It lives in how people feel when they leave. The owner glanced through the glass toward the showroom. People watch, he said. They may not hear every word, but they feel every choice. Today the room felt small. It will not feel that way again. He reached into a folder and set a slim envelope on the table, a quiet, deliberate motion. This is the onboarding plan I wrote for the team, he said. It covers service standards, greeting, and bias training. It covers what to do when you are not sure who is in front of you. The answer is simple. You respect them. The manager's shoulders lowered a fraction. I can work with that, she said. I will do the training. I will fix my approach. I want to keep my job, but more than that, I want to earn it. The owner nodded once. Good, he said. Because this is not a test you pass once. This is how we live here. A soft knock came at the glass. The junior associate stood outside with 2 other staff members, unsure if they should come in. The newcomer waved them closer and opened the door. Give us 5 minutes, the owner told them kindly. Then bring everyone. We're going to talk as a group. They nodded and stepped back. The door closed again. The newcomer turned to the manager. What would you have done differently, he asked, if the same moment happened again in 10 minutes? She answered without reaching for policy. I would introduce myself. I would offer a tour. I would ask what brings you in today. I would listen. I would not push a list for someone's situation. I would let the person show me who they are. That sounds like a start, the owner said. He stood and they stood with him. He lifted the envelope and handed it to the manager. You will help lead this, he said. You will also be accountable for it. I believe in second chances when they come with real work. Her hand steadied on the envelope. Thank you, she said. I won't waste it. They stepped out of the conference room together. The showroom light seemed a little softer now. The junior associate had gathered the staff by the lounge. Conversations went quiet as the group approached. The owner stopped at the edge of the floor and looked around. The cars gleamed. The glass shone. The team waited. "Let's talk," he said, and the room bent toward him, ready for what came next. The staff gathered in the lounge area, their chatter muted, their eyes fixed on the owner as he stepped forward. The glass walls of the showroom gleamed around them. The cars lined up like silent witnesses. The atmosphere was heavy, not with noise, but with expectation. Everyone knew something had shifted, though few could yet name it. The owner stood with his hands lightly clasped in front of him. His tone was calm, but carried weight. "Thank you all for stopping your work. I won't take long, but what we discuss now will set the tone for what this dealership stands for." He let his gaze travel across the room. Some employees looked directly at him. Others glanced down at the floor, uneasy under the spotlight of accountability. Susan, the manager, sat stiffly in one of the lounge chairs, her clipboard now resting on her lap, fingers gripping it as if it could still shield her. "I walked in today dressed in a hoodie, jeans and sneakers," the owner said, his voice even, "not because I had no better clothes, not because I wanted to play games, but because I wanted to see how we treat people when we don't know who they are. I wanted to feel what an ordinary visitor might feel." A murmur rippled through the group. Some nodded slowly. Others shifted in their seats. He continued, "And what I experienced was not respect. What I experienced was judgment, quiet glances, quick assumptions, and in one case, direct dismissal." His eyes flicked toward Susan for the briefest moment before sweeping back to the group. He took a step closer, his tone sharpening just enough to pierce the air. "Listen carefully. This business does not survive on chrome or leather alone. It survives on trust, on how people feel the moment they step through those doors. If someone leaves here feeling small, unseen, or unwelcome, then we have failed, no matter what car they drive away in." The junior associate who had earlier offered help shifted, then slowly raised his hand. The owner nodded to him. "I try to treat everyone the same," the young man said nervously. "But sometimes I guess people look at someone and they assume, even if they don't mean harm." The owner nodded thoughtfully. "That's honest," he said. "And it's true. We all carry assumptions. But here's the difference. Good service does not act on assumptions. Good service listens. Good service respects first and asks questions later. That's how we lead." He paused, letting the words sink into the silence. The fluorescent lights buzzed faintly overhead. No one dared move. "This dealership," he went on, "is known for excellence. But excellence is more than horsepower and polished glass. Excellence is dignity. Excellence is making sure every single person who walks in here feels valued, whether they wear a suit, a hoodie, or overalls from a construction site. If they step through our doors, they deserve the same welcome." Now his gaze rested firmly on Susan. "I'm not here to humiliate anyone," he said, his tone softening but still firm. "But what happened today cannot be ignored. You judged me. You misjudged me. And if you can do that to me, then how many customers have walked out of here unseen?" Susan's cheeks flushed red. For a long moment she said nothing. Then her voice came low, halting. "I was wrong. I thought I was protecting the brand. But I see now I was hurting it. And I am sorry." Her words broke the tension like a crack in glass. The staff turned their eyes toward her, some surprised, some relieved. The owner gave a slow nod. "Thank you for saying that. But apologies are only the first step. Real change comes from action." He straightened, his voice rising just slightly. "From today forward, we will be putting new training in place. We will learn how to greet without assumptions. We will learn how to listen without prejudice. We will learn how to serve every single customer with dignity. That is the culture I will build here. And if anyone cannot live with that standard, then this is not the place for you." The words rang out, firm and final. For a moment, the only sound was the low hum of the showroom lights. Then slowly, heads began to nod. A few employees murmured agreement. The young associate straightened with quiet pride. Even Susan, pale and shaken, lowered her eyes and whispered, "I understand." The owner let the silence linger a little longer, then gave a faint smile. "Good," he said, "because how we treat people matters more than any car we sell." The staff sat straighter. The weight in the room began to shift, the tension giving way to a new sense of purpose. For the first time that day, the air felt lighter, and the man who had walked in wearing a hoodie, dismissed, doubted, almost turned away, now stood at the center of the room, not just as the new owner, but as the voice of change. The lounge grows quiet after the owner's words. No one checks their phone. No one pretends to be busy. The manager holds the slim envelope against her chest like it weighs more than paper. The junior associate stands near the back, eyes steady, not sure if he should speak again. The owner lets the quiet breathe. Then he nods toward the showroom. "Let's get back to the floor," he says. "We start now." They move as a group. The lights seem warmer, or maybe everyone is seeing differently. At the front desk, the owner stops and turns to the team. "First change," he says. "Every person who walks in gets the same 5-minute welcome. No forms, no pre-qualification talk. A tour, a conversation, and one question that matters most. What brought you in today?" He points to the silver coupe by the window. "Second change. We honor curiosity. If someone stops at a car, we meet them there. We give real information. We do not guard the car like a secret." He faces the manager. "You will lead this rollout. 2 sessions a day for a week. Role play. Real scenarios. You will show them what right looks like." She nods, voice steady for the first time. "Understood." The owner turns to the junior associate. "You noticed what mattered. You offered help with respect. You will mentor the new hires for the next month. I will meet with you weekly." The associate blinks, surprised. "I'll do my best." "You already started," the owner says. The glass doors open and the couple from earlier starts to rise, unsure if they should interrupt. The manager steps forward before anyone prompts her. "Welcome to Prestige Motors," she says, and her tone is different now. Open, human. "What brings you in today?" The couple smiles. "First time looking," the woman says. "We love that coupe." "Great choice," the manager answers. "Let me walk you through it." She glances to the owner for permission, and he gives a small nod. She takes them to the window car, but her pace is slower, her manner softer. She points out the seats, the steering feel, the way the cabin is quiet at speed. She asks what roads they drive most. She listens to their answers. No one mentions money. No one mentions pre-qualifying. The air feels clean. The owner watches for a moment and then gathers the remaining staff. "This is what it looks like," he says. "Not complicated. Not clever. Just respect first." He walks the floor with them. At the SUV line, he pauses and runs a finger near a door handle, stopping at a tiny swirl mark. "Details tell a story," he says. "If we miss this, what else do we miss when a person stands in front of us?" They move on. He points out greeting spots, places to stand so customers feel welcomed, not cornered. He has them practice one by one. It is awkward at first, then it begins to feel natural. The manager finishes with the couple and returns, a small flush in her cheeks. "They want a test drive tomorrow," she says. "They said they felt seen." The owner nods. "Good, keep going." He gathers everyone once more by the lounge. "There are 2 more pieces," he says. "We add a customer charter at the door. 5 lines, clear and simple. Welcome without judgment. Listen first. Serve with care. Be honest about what we know and do not know. End every visit with dignity. We will hold ourselves to it." He looks toward the entrance. "And once a month we host a community day. Free car care talks, open bays. Kids can sit in the cars. No sales pressure. We earn trust long before anyone buys." The receptionist writes as he talks. The service lead nods along. Even the techs from the back step closer, hearing how their work ties into the promise. The manager clears her throat. "I would like to say something," she offers. The team turns. Her eyes are clear now. "I misjudged a person on our floor," she says. "I thought I was protecting a brand. I was protecting my comfort. I am sorry to all of you because I set a tone you had to live under. I will do the work to change it, and I will accept the results if I fail." No one claps. It is not that kind of moment. But shoulders lower. People exhale. The room loosens a little. The owner thanks her with a small nod. "Accountability is not a speech," he says. "It is what happens next." He turns toward the door, then stops by the silver coupe. He opens it with a key fob and sits for a second. Not to test the leather, but to hear the silence inside the cabin. He steps back out, closes the door, and hands the fob to the junior associate. "Make sure the swirl is corrected," he says. "And keep the welcome ready." "Yes, sir." The afternoon begins to move again. Phones ring. A delivery truck backs up to the service bay. The espresso machine hisses to life. But the noise sounds different now. Less defensive. More live. The manager approaches the owner quietly. "May I ask one question?" she says. "Go ahead." "Why did you not fire me on the spot?" He looks at the floor and then back at her. Because this place needs someone who has seen their blind spot and still chooses to lead. And because second chances teach more people than punishments do. But do not mistake grace for softness. Your results will speak, she nods. They will. He walks with her toward the front, then slows. A young family enters. A little boy pressed against the glass before he runs to the nearest SUV with a grin. The father looks apologetic. The owner smiles and kneels to the boy's level. Do you like that one, he asks. It looks like a spaceship, the boy says. It does, the owner agrees. Want to see the inside? The father's concern fades. The manager opens the door and stands aside. The boy climbs in like he just met a dream. The sales floor relaxes around a simple joy that is free to give. The owner stands again and looks across the room. He sees the staff talking to customers with open faces. He sees the charter being typed for the door. He sees the swirl mark already being polished out with care. He sees a place that is beginning to match the promise on its sign. He adjusts the cuff of his sleeve and glances at his hoodie reflection in the glass. The fabric is plain. The message is not. We sell cars, he says, mostly to himself, but we keep people. He takes one last look at the floor he now owns and the culture he is choosing to build. Then he steps toward the entrance, where the sun turns the glass into a sheet of light. The door opens. Warm air rolls in. The staff carries on with new eyes. At Prestige Motors, the most valuable thing on display is not the metal under the lights. It is the respect that meets you at the door and follows you out to the curb. That is what people remember. That is what they come back for. That is the real engine that moves this place forward.